Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Play by Play off air and online. Of course, coming to you every second week. So, what's that? Bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly.
And talking all things sport, what's happening in the world of sport this week. Two major talking points. I haven't prepped Adrian about exactly what's going to be taking place on the show this evening, but I've got two major talking points that I'm going to have him unpack for me because I'm kind of torn. I don't know the answers, but I think hopefully the man, the myth, the legend that is Adrian Endley will have all the answers for us. So before I dive straight into it, firstly, good evening, big guy.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Yes, very well, thank you. Sporting wise, anything that jumps out at you just off the bat straight away?
Well, I'm hoping this might be one of the things you're talking about, but the Champions League, of course, a big...
That is, okay, so that is one of the things I'm talking about.
I thought so. Because, I mean, we probably saw one of... Some people are calling probably the best Champions League game ever played between PSG and Bayern. That was definitely a highlight for me. And of course, the Stormers, watching the Stormers as well on Saturday with Morgan, actually. I got to watch it live with a former Stormer.
Yeah, good point. The play-by-play on-air team went and watched the game, the Stormers taking on the Glasgow Warriors, and we went to the Sportpesa box and... We had such a draw, actually.
We had a good time.
Yeah. The problem is I don't know how much rugby we actually watched. So I had to go and watch a lot of the replays and a lot of the highlights to actually be able to pass comment on,
very true.
on exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Anything else that jumps? Okay, so that is the other one. So you see, when you and your sports guy are like, what do we call ourselves when we...
We've synced up, our brains are now working at the same rate.
Correct. We are into year two, to be fair, of play-by-play on-air product and season 2, of play-by-play off-air and online. So let's dive straight into it, dude. I mean, there's not too much else that I really wanted to cover today. But the one thing was, and let's start with the Champions League, seeing that's like freshest in our minds.
Yeah.
But I mean, a 9-goal thriller, people talking about it being one of the greatest Champions League games of all time, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Two questions that I really want to start with, I suppose, is the one is, based on the second game, which took place yesterday, as in Wednesday night.
Yes.
Surely the winner comes from Tuesday night.
Yeah. I heard you say that in your sport report the other day, and I was thinking the exact same thing. Surely, whoever wins this semi-final between PSG and Bayern, they have to be the eventual winners. It's so interesting how this two semi-finals have been set up, where you have two of probably the most attacking teams.
Yes, weirdly,
in
right?
the competition facing each other, and then two of the most defensive teams. And it's actually hilarious that this PSG Bayern game ended 5-4, and then the match between Arsenal and at Atletico ended 1-1. Both of them being penalties that were scored in the end. I think it just speaks to the sort of style of play so well. And honestly, I was backing Bayern to sort of take this. And I thought going in early, I mean, they obviously picked up the first goal with Harry Kane scoring a penalty there. I thought they would sort of sit back a bit more once they'd score that goal, but it was anything but. There was no such thing as parking the bus in that match.
I feel like this game was worthy of being a final. Now, I don't know that disrespects Arsenal and Atletico Madrid supporters or fans.
Yeah.
I mean, not that as Man United fans like we are.
I personally
not that we care
mind.
too much about it. But I do feel like it's worthy of a final. But you know what was funny? I was telling friends of mine, I was having dinner watching the game. And even when it was, I think they were 4-1 down or 4-2 down.
Yes.
Even at 4-1 down,
Yeah.
mates of mine around the table were still saying, this Bayern side just don't lie down under Vincent Kompany.
Yeah.
And when we walked across to another restaurant, and I got there, the score was 5-4. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just two teams. Would you say these are two best teams in the world currently?
Oh yeah, definitely. Between PSG and Bayern. I mean, Bayern already are the German champions again.
Yes.
They've been so dominant. I mean, you can say that they're playing in a league that's a bit weaker, but I think time and time again, they play against the best in Europe in the Champions League, and they carry on proving that they're clearly worthy of that title. I honestly thought that, because obviously PSG had a great season last season, and it's hard for a team to sort of go back to back, and I thought we'd see PSG being a lot more low-key this year, but they are proving why they are the European champions, and I definitely would have loved to see this as a final. I think if the seeding,
what a spectacle, right?
If the seeding had gone any differently, this would be the perfect final. This has been a Champions League final before, where obviously Bayern won it in the end against PSG a few years ago now already. And yeah, I don't know, because these are two very distinct styles of football, and I think we're obviously going to see a final now where it's going to be one of these two.
Yeah.
We're going to see a team that's very attacking versus a team that is very defensive, is very very frustrating in their play. And I'm going to be very interested to see what the final result is from that.
Do these teams, whoever wins this game, do they go back and go park the bus in the final? Or do they come out and continue to play that exciting brand of football that we know they can play? That's question number one. And the other one is, do you think that these two, one of these two teams will go on to win it?
I definitely think that when it comes to a final, we've always seen that teams get very nervous, especially in that first half.
The opening stanza,
They almost want to sort of feel each other out, like they won't play as attacking. But if I see a team like PSG in the final, I think they're gonna want to do what has gotten them this far, and that is playing that very fluid, very attacking, very aggressive kind of football.
Yeah.
So I personally think a team like PSG I can see going for. Maybe Bayern would sort of, because Bayern I think Bayern are a more balanced team. If I look at Bayern's defense to their attack, I think they have key players in each sort of section where they show a lot more balance. PSG, they have a very good midfield, they have a very good attack. Their defense and goalkeeping, it's good. It's very good, but it's not as strong, I'd say, as Bayern.
I got you.
I think Bayern would be the sort of more balanced team. And genuinely, football's a very funny game. Obviously, we know this. I think the two strongest teams are playing here, PSG, Bayern. I think Atleti, Arsenal, those are sort of the ones that are going to lose it.
Let's talk about that game quickly. I mean, obviously it was last night now. 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Call it a stalemate.
Yeah.
Not the greatest football in the world.
No.
I mean, we know Arsenal and as it is are not really flying high, sort of, struggling for form back end of the season. Athletic, I haven't actually kept an eye on them in the domestic league. But what do you make of this Arsenal side right now? Because they just can't pick up a result.
Yeah, I think Arsenal they have the most to lose, honestly. I mean, a few like.
Do you think it's that pressure weighing on this team?
100%. I think less than a month ago there was talks of Arsenal getting the quadruple. Right now they've already been knocked out of two competitions and they only have the Premier League and the Champions League left to decide what their season will be. I saw a thing that said basically they have from basically like a month from now, we will know where Arsenal are. If this next month will determine if their season has been a success or not. Even though they have put up very consistent results throughout the season, we can't deny that they have been very consistent. In defense, you can call them corner FC if you want to. They have been very effective at scoring goals and winning games. Obviously not towards this side of the season, which obviously you can say is the most important time to be putting up very good results, and they just haven't been doing that. So I think for them, if anything, they'll be their worst enemies because they'll be very in their head about we need to win. We need to prove ourselves here. If we don't win the Premier League, which is looking highly likely that they wouldn't, they'll be looking at the Champions League to sort of salvage this season.
But at what point do they... I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who it was. Anyway, but one thing they made quite clear was that the Premier League is bigger than the Champions League. I don't know if it was a podcast I was watching or what it was. But they were adamant that the Premier League, to win the Premier League is bigger than winning the Champions League. Your domestic competition is first prize almost.
Yeah.
They haven't been knocked out of it, and they're still well in the running to win the Premier League.
Definitely.
But do you think the winner has been knocked out of their sails? And my next question is, where do you think where do they go to? What do you think the end of... You talk about being a month from now. What do you think in your mind does a month from now look like if you're an Arsenal?
If I was in the Arsenal camp right now, I'd be so nervous because history has done this to them a few times. They've been in this position before. Literally last season, they were in this position. They had reached the semi-finals of the Champions League, and they were in a good position to win the Premier League. And we all know what happened from there. They were knocked out in the semi-finals, and they were comfortably beaten in the end in the Premier League. So history seems to be repeating itself again. So I'd be very nervous if I was an Arsenal player, if I was in the Arsenal backroom staff right now. If I was Mikel Arteta, I'd be nervous getting into this right now. But against a team they played. Did they play in Madrid yesterday? I'm not too sure. They played in Madrid.
Arsenal coming back to London.
Their next match is going to be at the Emirates. They will definitely feel that they have a good chance here to make it into a final. And I think once Arsenal are in a final, it's anyone's game. Honestly, it's anyone's game. Depending on how well they play on their day, they can beat any team in Europe if they want to. We need to remember that in the Champions League group phase, they were number one. They beat Bayern in the group stage as well, in that sort of table phase at the beginning of the Champions League. So they have proven themselves against some of the best teams in Europe. It just depends on their mentality, if they can keep it together.
You know what
which
we got to do?
They haven't been doing so far.
We really have to get somebody on this show that can talk, because I don't think we talk about it enough, and we've touched on it on air product once before. But the mentality of sport is so big. We actually forget how important your mental state is when playing sport. Because I think, for a lot of people, I think it's a game of soccer, man. Go out there and just play your best.
Yeah.
But the weight of expectation and the weight of what's happened in the past laying on top on your shoulders can really weigh you down. And we're seeing it with this Arsenal side now again and again. And I was convinced that after the third year of playing sort of second fiddle to, I suppose it was Liverpool the previous year and Man
Liverpool
City,
City,
like surely this year there's none of that. Now this weighs heavily on them.
Yeah.
Like you say, they were in 4 competitions 2 months ago. They're now only left in 2 competitions really, in the Premier League and the Champions League.
Yeah.
The weight of that is really hectic, and I want to get someone to talk about what is that?
Imagine you were in like Mikel Arteta's position right now, and we can go for the Champions League and the Premier League. Would you prioritize one? Would you actually say, I think we need to place all our eggs in this basket? Because obviously they have matches coming up now where Arsenal need to win every single match they have coming up in the Premier League and the Champions League to guarantee a trophy for them.
Well, you know what I would do? I would throw the kitchen sink at both. Like, I'd literally run these players off their feet. I'd play my best 11 week in and week out and hope for the best. That being said, the Premier League is no longer in their hands.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like if you had to choose, you would almost put more emphasis on the Champions League, because that's still in your hands.
Yes.
You're sitting at a 1-1.
Yeah.
You could potentially rest players over the weekend in the Premier League. And then, but again, you rest players in the Premier League, and then they're not firing on all cylinders that first 40 minutes. And in Champions League football, you're not from minute 1 to minute 90 firing.
Especially as a team like Bayern or PSG, they could score 3 goals before you even know what's happening,
Crazy.
Yo.
Anyway, folks, we can talk about this at length. If you want to jump into the conversation, of course, make sure you leave a message in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts on Arsenal, their performances, and then, of course, one of the greatest Champions League games of all time, the semi-final between Bayern Munich and PSG. What a game it was. 5 goals to 4. And you know what's best? Is there's still more to come, because next week, we'll be unpacking exactly who will be in the final and what that final is going to look like. So we're in for a real treat. But it's time for us to shift focus very quickly. Of course, we got a small matter of the Stormers game. Adrian and I were there together with Megan Hector. We were at the Stormers game, and how much rugby we watched at the game is up for debate. But I certainly did catch the highlights and watch some more of it when I got home on Saturday evening.
Yeah,
and,
I can get used to this box life. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, really?
I'm usually there in the stands, sitting amongst everyone else. But to have a nice, just the bars right behind you, some free food. Everyone's chatting more than watching the rugby.
Yeah.
I can get used to that.
That bird's eye view gives you a proper view of like exactly where the space is on rugby field, right?
Yes, exactly.
And there's lots of it. So let's quickly unpack that. Of course, we spoke about choking and the Arsenal Champions League and hitting the ground running and all that. And the Stormers put out a pretty good performance considering the dismal performance we saw 2 weeks ago. And I say dismal with respect, because we were very well aware of the fact that the passing of Chippy Solomon's affected this team massively.
I mean, you were just saying that sport is a very big mental thing as well, and I think the sort of build up to that match against Connacht was really tough, because there was lots of people saying in the media, look, we need to go out there and win this for Chippy. So when you put pressure on yourself like that to honor your late manager with a win, you start playing in your head. You start thinking about things that you shouldn't be thinking. And I think we definitely saw that. We definitely saw how emotional the players were against Connacht, and just there was something a lot bigger than rugby at play during that match.
And it's amazing how your emotions, like, again, we speak about this at length, and that's why I say we need to get an expert on the show to talk about the mentality of sport, because emotionally the Stormers were just broken.
Yeah.
And I think they needed that week to kind of look at. They don't have the luxury of saying, let's cancel this fixture and shift it out or whatever. TV rights, etc., and the games need to be played. But kudos to them for just still going out there and playing, because I know that that's what Chippy would have wanted. But I mean, obviously not the result they wanted,
Yeah.
but they turned it around pretty well on Saturday, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And I obviously the Glasgow Warriors, they didn't have a great match against the Lions, but they
Yeah.
actually made quite a few changes to their team. That they brought in quite a few of their sort of first team players back into the lineup. So I was expecting a tighter contest. The Stormers obviously got to quite an early lead from the beginning of the match, and I was picturing the Sharks in my mind, because the Sharks done this a few times where they have a great first half, they're leading quite comfortably, and then something happens in the second half where they just end up always losing the match. That's happened now for the last few matches in a row. So I thought that would be the case for the Stormers, but no, they were very comfortable, and I think given their position, they obviously did bring on their youngest ever player, Marnus, of course, or what is
Marcus
it?
Miller,
Marcus Miller, sorry. They brought him on, and I think that obviously got one of the biggest roars of the day.
I was quite interested by that. If I interrupt you there very quickly, I was quite interested by that. Like, what do you make of that? I mean, I think you know my opinion on it,
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
happy to pass comment again on it now. But
Yeah.
off the bat for you, too soon, the right time.
Yeah.
What's your stance on Marcus Miller, who
I
hasn't
did-
played much rugby outside of the S-20s, really?
Yeah. I did think that it was tactical from them to bring him on for this match, because I thought that
Incidentally, sorry to interrupt you
No,
there.
yeah.
Incidentally, he's now had a finger operation and will be out of rugby for, I think it's 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So,
He can't
so
really
he can't
feature.
even, he's not even going to travel with the Stormers
Yes,
now.
for their final 2 matches.
But anyway, carry on. I'm sorry.
No, I don't know if it was necessary per se, if we needed to introduce someone that young into the game. I think we have enough cover in the Stormers 23 even. We have players who play at centre who are playing week in and week out, who have sort of proven themselves before.
Yeah.
I think it was very symbolic. I think we've spoken in the past about how maybe the Stormers as a franchise haven't always brought on enough youth. They've often relegated youth to their Western Province sides.
Yeah.
So maybe this was sort of a very symbolic way of showing that, look, if you're young enough and you're talented enough, you can feature in the Stormers. And I do think that given the match and how much the Stormers were leading by, it was a very safe match to introduce him in. I don't know if he will be a game changer right now. So that's the only reason I question maybe his inclusion right now. I don't know if we'll see him. Like when someone like Sasha burst onto the scenes, he obviously made quite a big impact immediately, and he was a regular starter for the Stormers, even though we had someone like Mani Libok as well, who was playing fly off. I don't know if they'll be the same for Marnus. I personally, I don't know.
You know, I feel like the pressure of and the hype and the media around this kid, I would have just hidden him away for another year. You know, I know there's the train of thought, like if you're good enough, if you're old enough, or if you're good enough, you're old enough kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But there's no real reason. I also don't see the reason for him. You know what I mean? And that being said, also I'm not, and I know he's a talented youngster. I'm not saying I don't take his talent away from him. But I also don't know what has he done to deserve a Stormers call up? If you know what I mean, with respect.
Yeah, 100%.
If we put respect on the Stormers jersey and the players that have played in that jersey before, and I don't say this because, and I hate to ever say like back in my day, but like I sat like 3 seasons waiting to get a Stormers cap. Now I know times have changed. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But that is you can't just be giving free caps away.
Yeah.
And my worry is, yes, he's performed well at schoolboy level. And I know he's performed well at S-20 level. But is that enough to now become a full-blown, get a full-on Stormers cap? And that's the part that I sometimes question. Look, I'd love to eat my words and I'd love to be wrong. The problem is, he sets the world alight now with the Stormers, right? Where does he go to from there? What, did we start talking about being a buck?
Yeah.
Whereas, and he performs really badly at the Stormers, then we go, well, he's not ready, or he's not, you know, there's like, I feel like one more season of playing senior rugby, performing well at a certain level, would probably have been the right thing to do. But again, like I say, I could very well be wrong, and he could set the world alight, and I could make me eat my words.
I feel like it's a very high risk, high reward, because you give someone who's this young and this inexperienced this opportunity, it can make or break them.
Correct.
They can come on, have a blinder, and then, you know, the media can scrutinize them, the media can say whatever they want to, and then, they get relegated back to playing lower levels. Or you can give them more time to sort of work their way up the ranks. I definitely hear what you're saying, and I feel like it does put a lot of pressure on them. Obviously, luckily he didn't make too much of an impact. He didn't do anything wrong. So I guess it was a successful match for him, but that could have gone the other way completely. And then You have people saying, "Oh, why did they do this? Why did they put him on so early? Like,
Correct.
why did they bring him onto this team now?"
Look, the one positive, I have some ears on the ground, obviously, in the rugby space. And the one positive is I thought it's very easy for a young man like that to get quite big-headed quite early, having achieved nothing really.
Yeah.
But I have heard he's super humble, works really hard, feet on the ground. And so based on that feedback, I feel like he could just be the right kid to go on and really, work hard at being at his trade and becoming one of our better centers we've ever had.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, I think we should nurture him quite carefully because it's very easy for things to go sideways. We've seen so many schoolboy stars get written up and amount to probably just your run-of-the-mill average rugby player, And so, I mean, I wish Marcus Miller and obviously everyone at the Storm was all the very best. But we just got to make sure we guide and mentor him as well as we can.
Also, speaking of the Stormers, before we sign out here, so the Stormers have been running a thing where they've been picking their all-time 15 over the last few weeks.
I saw that. I've been watching that.
So the latest one that they've done is for open side flank. And this might be one of the most stacked ones because
I saw this.
The four options you have here are Siya Kolisi, Dion Fourie, Skalkberger, or Corne Krige. Of those four, who are you choosing for your ultimate Stormer?
It's very tough, that one. I'll tell you, you're asking me for my answer, right?
Yes.
You put me on the spot here.
Yes, I am.
I looked at that actually, and I thought it's a very tough one.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I do go between.
Yeah.
I go as a pure open side flanker. I go between Corne Krige and Dion Fourie.
Okay.
I don't think Sia. I think he's more an open side flanker. I see Sia in that role that they've been put in. I don't see Sia there, and I don't think his service to Western Province rugby hasn't been as big, I think, as potentially Dion and Corne. That's the one thing. But I played rugby with Corne Krige once or twice before, and I actually played in his benefit match as well. And that guy was a freak, man. But him and Dion Fourie are the same mold.
Okay.
And that's why I hate comparing like different generations of players.
Yeah.
Because they literally have the same mold.
Yeah.
But for pure leadership, presence on the rugby field, was prepared to die for the blue and white hoops, would lead that ultimate 15 that the Stormers are putting together with aplomb, I'd probably go Corne Krige.
Okay.
And that's like a wild thing for me to say because I think Sia's a fantastic rugby player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's one of our, at Springbok level, his service there has been second to none.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's played enough for the Western Province jersey, if I sort of want to clarify that. And then the same with Dion Fourie. I feel like Dion Fourie went away, came back, plays fantastic rugby in the position. But I almost want to say I'll put him on the bench behind Corne because he gives me more impact, plays towards the ball. Corne, bigger, bit more presence, leadership qualities. So probably Corne. Would you go? Which way would you go?
I would have thought Skalk, honestly. I mean, obviously Skalkberger, World Rugby Player of the Year.
It's tough.
Represented the Stormers as well for a long time. I do think Dion Fourie, though, his longevity is what I think would like impresses me the most.
Skalk, it is tough. It's very tough. Like if I had to choose a World 15 like that, I think Skalk was underrated at 8 as well. You know that. Like his ball carrying, his skills that he had. Like, I mean, who's going to be the 8th man? They're going to probably go for a guy like Bobby Skinstad over there. He's going to be one of the options.
Yeah.
Bobby, Big Joe.
Yeah.
Those oaks. But, it's so tough. We've had so many.
One,
that is a really stacked.
That is a tough one.
Open side flank position there. And listen, I tell you what, one of the best rugby players I've ever played with is probably Skalkberger. So it's hard for me to leave him out completely. But if I'm just trying to be, I suppose, different, and I'm just trying to go from a whole holistic point of view and what Corne brought to a team, probably him. But Skalkberger, can't they all play?
Right?
I know, right?
Can't they all? Well, just looking at the votes so far, actually, the one who is leading it at the moment is Skalkberger. So you are able to vote on the DHL Stormers.
Do you know why he's leading?
WhatsApp.
And I'll tell you straight up why he's leading. The nicest human being in the whole world. Like, Corne Krige in his era, rugby was very different back in Corne Krige's era, to be fair, right? Skalk comes just after the Corne Krige era and just the nicest human being in the world. Like, I've played with him. had the privilege of being in his presence a fair amount.
Yeah.
And just so consistent. Nothing, no airs and graces about him.
Yeah.
Always had time for the people. But between the 4 white lines, an absolute hooligan. So,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, to be fair. I'm just trying to, suppose, go against the grain and probably go for a guy like Cornet Kricher or whatever. Because I don't think many people in our day and age now know the impact that he had.
Yeah, definitely.
But I suppose that's really it, folks. Only the 2 topics that we covered today, but I wanted to sort of dive into it as deeply as we possibly could. So we unfortunately are also running out of time. Anything that you're looking forward to this weekend? The Stormers on the road?
There's a lot happening this weekend, man. Firstly, Man United and Liverpool. I do think that's going to finally...
we don't have to talk about that's an easy game, right?
Exactly. It's going to be quite a straightforward game for United, obviously. And then also, if one's back, it's the Miami Grand Prix
that's
as
right.
well.
And all these changes to the car.
Yes.
We need to get Delucia Daniels. So make sure you watch Play-by-Play. On air on Saturday morning, we're going to chat to Delucia Daniels and talk a little bit about those changes and how much impact it will have. Kim Antonelli currently leading the driver's standing, and right behind him is George Russell. So the Mercedes is clearly showing that they got the start of the season right.
Yeah.
The question is, with the changes that have now taken place, can they continue in that vein of form?
Yeah.
Will be very, very interesting to see. Anything else you're looking forward to?
I think that's about it, man. Otherwise, the Stormers aren't playing obviously this week. Next week they're back. They're on a sort of 2-game tour, and then hopefully from there we're looking for a very strong playoff time.
Are the Stormers going to be home quarterfinals? Or?
Oh, I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. Looking at the teams they're playing, they should win it. Again, rugby, it's a funny game.
Yeah.
Ulster, that's going to be a tough one, but Cardiff, they should.
Anything can happen,
Yeah, they should hopefully win it.
All right, folks. Well, then I suppose that's a wrap. Thanks so much for joining us. As I said earlier in the show, if you're liking what you're seeing and you're enjoying it, and you have a guest that you want to get on, if you want to come on and you think your sporting knowledge needs to be shared with the world, then please hit us up in the comments below and we can definitely try and make it happen. Also, what guests you potentially want to see on the show. We did promise that season 2 is going to be bigger and better. And in the next couple of weeks, we certainly are going to get some really cool guests on the show once we were able to get our hands on them, and we'll sit them down in the hot seat and you can post some questions to them as the season progresses. So thank you again for joining us. Adrian, as well, always enjoy your sporting weekend.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll catch you guys again next week, same time, same place. Have yourselves a fantastic sporting weekend. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.